Have you ever wondered if your thoughts actually shape your reality, or if that's just some new age woo-woo slogan? What if I told you that there's real science, quantum physics, neuroscience, and even biology proving that you literally influence the world around you with your inner state? Today I am breaking down how the universe responds to your consciousness and how to shift your internal frequency so that life starts responding differently. Welcome to the Built for Impact podcast. I am Jake Burhans, and this is the podcast where inner peace meets high performance and where building your dream life starts from the inside out. Today's episode I am very excited about because when I first started learning about all this stuff, manifestation, reality creation, I needed to understand the science behind it. I had to. It's just the way my brain works. And now I'm glad I did that because I can actually share it with people who may be in the same thought process. Well, that's woo-woo, that's spiritual, that's, whatever it is. There is so much science behind this, quantum physics being the real base of that. Quantum physics is a beautiful thing because it has taken what mystical, spiritual teachers have talked about for thousands of years and brought it into science. So in today's episode, we're going to dive into what I think is one of the most fascinating and life-changing truths, that you are not a victim of reality, you are the creator of it. And I'm not talking about, like I said, manifestation and wishful thinking and all this stuff. Well, I am talking about manifestation, but I'm going to give you a new paradigm on that, new perspective. Hopefully we can get a little bit of a paradigm shift by the end of this episode. I'm talking about physics, biology, and neuroscience. So how your brain, body, and consciousness are constantly shaping your external world. So the first thing I want to talk about is the quantum field. So the quantum field is basically infinite potential until you observe it. So at the small level of existence, what we discovered over the past 100 years or however long it was, that particles don't actually exist as matter. When you look at a subatomic particle, okay, it's actually 99.99999% energy and 0.00001% matter. So it's more energy than matter. It's more no thing than it is a thing. And what they discovered is that this energy stays in infinite positions until awareness collapses it into a reality. So imagine every moment in your life is like a blank canvas holding infinite versions of reality. And what collapses into form depends on what you believe and expect. So the big thing here is like, you don't create reality, you select it based on your vibration. What is your vibration? It's your thoughts, your emotions, and your beliefs. So that's what the observer effect is. This was the most mind-blowing thing to me. The observer effect in quantum physics, which basically states that consciousness shapes matter. So in the quantum field, everything exists as an infinite potential. And the second that you put your awareness on something in your mind, in your imagination, you think about a potential future reality, you begin to collapse it into matter. And that is what the observer effect shows us. So this is a beautiful, incredible realization because you can focus and imagine on anything you possibly want, and you can bring that into existence. So when you focus on fear, you collapse more fear-based outcomes because that's a signal you're sending to the quantum field. You are sending a fearful thought into the field, so you're going to get more fear-based outcomes. But when you focus on peace, right, and you think peaceful thoughts and peaceful emotions, that's what you're bringing in. So I want you to think about, this is what Joe Dispenza says, your thought is the electrical signal out into the quantum field, and your emotion is the magnet that draws it in. Everything is energy at the basis, right? Everything is energy. So your thoughts are energy, your emotions are energy. Even the walls that you're looking at, the chair you're sitting in, the car that you drive, all that is actually energy vibrating very slowly. Okay, Einstein's famous equation E=mc² tells us that energy is interchangeable with matter. Matter sped up at the speed of light turns to energy. So everything is energy. So your thoughts, your emotions, right? So the second you think a thought, and then you tie it with the accompanying emotion, you're bringing that into your reality. It's literally science. Because the quantum field is the unified field that connects everyone. It connects everyone. A further point here is this idea of quantum entanglement. We're going to get into some of the science stuff. I'm going to try to keep it as high level as I can. Quantum entanglement tells us that the universe is already connected. So imagine two tuning forks. What's a tuning fork? It's basically like a little metal two-prong instrument. And you can hit it and it'll keep playing a musical note, right? Just or whatever the note is. Imagine two tuning forks, okay, made from the same piece of metal. strike one in Los Angeles, and the other one vibrates instantly in New York. Okay, so that's a simple way to picture quantum entanglement. When two particles interact, they become linked beyond space and time. Remember how I've told before in previous episodes, there's no such thing as space and time. It's just a construct of the mind. This quantum field, this unified field, is a deeper layer of reality beyond space and time. So things don't have to travel linearly. When you think about a quantum leap, what is a quantum leap in quantum physics? Basically, when a particle, right, and I'm not a scientist, so I could be butchering this, but basically, or I'm not a physicist. A quantum leap in physics is when a particle disappears in one area and just appears in the next area, right? It doesn't go linearly from A to B. It doesn't like travel a distance. It just appears, it disappears, and it appears in a completely different area. That's a quantum leap. And you're doing the same thing as a person when you just embody the person that you want to be, right? Because if you just say, hey, I'm going to be a world-class speaker, and you start thinking like that and feeling the emotions and acting like that, you're really taking a quantum leap in the quantum field at the quantum level to become that person, right? You're not going from A to B and doing all these struggles and things that you have to do. You're jumping right into that frequency, and that stuff is going to be drawn to you through this principle called quantum entanglement. So think about that. Two tuning forks made from the same piece of metal, strike one in Los Angeles and the other one vibrates instantly in New York. So when two particles interact, they become linked beyond space and time. So change one and the other reacts immediately. Strike it in LA and it immediately reacts in New York with no signal, no delay. It's not like that wave has to travel all the distance from LA to New York over all the states, right? That wave doesn't have to travel. It's just instantaneous. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. The other example that gets thrown around is, say you roll a die in New York, it lands on a 6 at the exact same time a die is being rolled in Tokyo, it also lands on a 6. So it basically says that stuff is connected at a deeper level beyond space and time, and that's what we need to try to wrap our head around. So what's actually happening here is when two particles interact, like I said, they become entangled, right? So their states remain linked, even across like galaxies. So change one and the other one reacts immediately, as if they're one system instead of two. So entanglement reveals what I said, what spiritual teachers and mystics and all these people have been talking about for centuries, that we are actually not separate. Everything and everyone is part of the same energetic web. Your thoughts, emotions, intentions ripple through that web and influence everything you're connected to. So why does this matter for reality creation? Because everything's already connected, right? Distance doesn't matter. They respond as one. This includes you and your desires. The quantum field doesn't recognize separation. It responds to energy. So if you're embodying this energy of this person that you want to become, what they call synchronicities are going to people are going to reach out to you randomly, but it's not random, right? Opportunities are going to show up randomly, but it's not random. Your internal shifts influence external reality. That's the biggest thing, right? Your internal shifts, your vibration, your state of being influences the external reality because of quantum entanglement, because of the observer effect. You're imagining a potential future outcome. You're drawing it into your existence. And what is that process of getting drawn into your existence? That is the quantum entanglement, right? Because everything's connected at a deeper level than space and time. So you have to have belief that there's other things. But there is a lot of science to back this. So your vibration, your emotional frequency affects the entangled systems that you're connected to, people's, opportunities, outcomes. So when you embody peace, gratitude, and abundance, you magnetize experiences that match that signal. It's as simple as that. Like I said, the thought is the chemical or is the energetic signature out into the field, and the emotion is the thing that draws it in. So when you have a peaceful thought, right, accompanied by a peaceful feeling, that gets drawn into your experience through people's, through phone calls, through opportunities, because of this quantum unified field. So you're not waiting, you're aligning. You're not sending out energy hoping something happens later. You're syncing up right now. You're being this person with the reality that already exists in the quantum field. There's infinite potentials in the quantum field. How powerful is that? That there's infinite possibilities in the quantum field at any given time. Any given time, you can choose to write a new slate. You're on like a blank canvas every single day. You can wake up and decide to be this person, think these thoughts, feel these emotions, take these actions, be these behaviors. You got to believe in yourself, but you can do that. So the bottom line here is that you don't create your reality by force, right? You entangle with it energetically through alignment. That's why people say you got to raise your vibration. It's not about action, it's about alignment, right? Alignment with the energy. Because the universal intelligence can work in a much greater and quicker and more efficient way than you could ever, right? Because it is just such a it's the intelligence that created us. It's the intelligence that beats our heart, that digests our food, that heals our wounds, that grows the trees, that births children, right? This is the greatest intelligence of all time. So for us to think that our conscious minds are smarter than that is pretty ignorant, in my opinion. So next thing I want to talk about is the reticular activating system filters billions of data points every second to match your dominant belief. So whatever you choose to believe in, your reticular activating system is going to show you those things. The RAS is basically when you get a new car, you get a Toyota Camry, right? You've never seen any Toyota Camrys on the road, but you get that car and all of a sudden you see Toyota Camrys everywhere on the road, right? Or you get a new jacket and now you start seeing everyone wearing that jacket. It's because that's what your mind is focused on. So it shows you more of that. So this applies to anything else. If you're focused on fear and you're focused on lack and you're focused on scarcity, your brain is going to show you more of that. It's going to give you more reasons to back up that belief, right? We're so supported that the universe is even willing to support us in our limiting beliefs. How wild is that? So when you wake up and you feel abundant or wealth or positive or love or joy or excitement, whatever that is, the universe and in particular your reticular activating system in your brain is going to show you reasons to match that. So understand that. If you believe life is hard, your brain finds proof of that. If you believe I'm supported, it finds evidence of that too, right? So you don't see the world as it is. You see it as you are. As you are. What are your beliefs about the world and how things happen? Do you wake up and believe that the day is going to be hard? Well, guess what? Your reticular activating system is going to show you every single bit of data as to why your day is going to be hard. The call's not going to go well. This person's going to be upset. You're not going to get the right coffee at the shop. Right? All the things are gonna fall into place, and then you're gonna confirm it. Yep, I knew it was gonna be a bad day. But you're creating your own self-fulfilling prophecy. You're creating the own thing. So waking up and being intentional every single morning about who you want to be is so incredibly important. Because the second that you believe something, your brain is gonna show you things to match that. You're creating your reality every single second. You are creating it every single moment with every single belief, with every single thought, with every single emotion. You are creating that reality. I want you to try that though. It's wild. If you wake up and you say, today's going to be a great day, and even if you don't believe it at first, the more that you tell yourself something, you will believe it over time. It's just like an actor. An actor gets into a role, he gets so into the role, sometimes he forgets that, hey man, this is just a role. I think that's called method acting or something, but that's just super important to understand. Your reticular activating system. So choose the beliefs that you want. Another important concept is epigenetics. So there's a really good book by Dr. Bruce Lipton called The Biology of Belief. But his research shows how your thoughts and emotions literally affect gene expression. So a lot of his research shows that we used to thought that a lot of these diseases were genetic and all these things. His research shows us that most of the cells in our body are actually affected above the cell. Epigenetics. Epi means above or outside of, right? So most of those cells are affected from outside influences like our environment, aka our thoughts. Our thoughts are influencing our cells because they're energy. Our emotions are influencing our cells because they are also energy. So your thoughts and your emotions are literally affecting your cells, right? They're the outside environment that are casting waves of energy onto those cells. And that's how we develop all these diseases and cancer and all these things, because we're living in this fear and this stress and this anxiety. It's our bodies aren't meant to live like that. That's like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, you're sitting in traffic and you have 1 foot on the gas and 1 foot on the brake. That's living in fight or flight all the time when you're always fear, anxiety, and worrying about stuff. It's like that was a natural function for us when we were getting chased by tigers, but our life is almost never in danger. It's all these psychological beliefs, right? All these psychological beliefs and psychological worries. So we just need to let that stuff go. But his book, The Biology of Belief, I believe is what it's called, is basically talks about that. It's like our beliefs literally shape our biology. That's how significant it is. Chronic stress activates disease genes. Gratitude and joy activate healing and growth genes. It's that simple. So the takeaway here is that your body mirrors your inner world. So changing your emotional baseline changes your biology. Neuroplasticity. So you can literally rewire your identity. So the brain rewires through repetition. Okay, there's a law called Hebb's law. And it says that neurons that fire together wire together. So what you think, feel, and act upon becomes your new default. If you're conditioned to think fear, anxiety, and worry, those are the synaptic connections and the neural pathways that are programmed into your brain on automatically, right? But as you think new thoughts and feel new emotions, your brain is literally firing new neurons. It's creating new neural pathways, new synaptic connections, and you're literally rewiring your brain like a computer program to think new thoughts that are abundant, creative thoughts, and will obviously send those signals down to your body, will create abundant emotions, joy, peace, love, whatever they may be, and that's going to bring those experiences into your reality, right? Through quantum entanglement, through the observer effect. So that's how all that works, tying it all together. It's like your thoughts. As you think new thoughts, you're going to rewire your brain, send new chemical signatures to your body, emit new energy, and because of the quantum field, everything's connected at the quantum field, and you emit that energy out of peace, love, and joy. It's like a magnet. It's going to draw those experiences back into you because all particles, once linked, are connected forever. So when you send out that energy of love, anything in your external environment is going to want to seek that, whether it's people or opportunities or circumstances, anything. So neuroplasticity, it's a great thing that we can literally rewire our brains. So we're not pretending. When you visualize and feel your future self as real now, and your brain begins to create it neurologically, you're not pretending, you're actually practicing. You're reprogramming your subconscious to match your next level of being. There's a really interesting study done with a group of basketball players, and there's 3 groups, and they wanted to practice free throws over the course of like 2 weeks, let's say. And one group didn't practice any free throws, right? So they shot a certain amount of free throws on day 1, and then on day, let's say it was 3 weeks. On day 21, they shot free throws again. The second group actually practiced doing free throws. And then the third group practiced free throws in their mind. They didn't even do free throws. So the first group at the end of 3 weeks, no change in accuracy of their free throw percentage. The second group who physically practiced free throws improved by, I think, 22%. And the third group that practiced them in their mind improved 21%. So practically the same percentage increase in accuracy, and all they were doing was practicing in their mind. Athletes do this all the time. This is like a well-known thing now to visualize. But when I played hockey, I used to visualize all the time, like visualize myself making saves, visualize myself in the game. Athletes are doing this all the time, and your brain can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined reality and when you open your eyes and actually act. Your brain can't tell the difference. So if you're in your mind vividly imagining this future self of you, this new reality that you want, you're getting emotional about it, and you're trying to get all your emotions involved. You can taste it, you can smell it, you can hear it, you're so in this reality. At a certain point, that reality becomes more real than the one you're living in. And if you can stay in that and walk in faith and stay in that frequency, that state of being, eventually your external world begins to collapse, right? But you got to have the faith. That's why I'm diving into the science here, because I want people to have a better understanding of how real this stuff is. But you have to have the faith that this works, that it's true. And the beautiful thing is, as you start to imagine this future you, the universe speaks in what they call synchronicities. Okay, so it doesn't speak in language, but it'll speak in synchronicities, meaning something will happen that will put you on the right path to this future version of you in a way that you never thought possible. It'll come in such an unexpected way, and it'll be so undeniable that you'll have no reason but to believe that, oh my gosh, I just did that. I just manifested that. That was a result of the inner work I've been doing when I sit down every morning and I visualize who I want to become. That came in. How do you know? Because I would have never thought that. I would have never thought that it would come like that, right? A good example of that actually is I'm going back down to Florida, and I was just looking for a rental for a few months. And I was actually cutting it pretty close when I needed to be there. And Isaiah, my friend Isaiah, had told me, like, hey, you're kind of cutting it kind of close. You're only a few weeks out. Shouldn't you have been looking on Furnish Finder or Airbnb for a spot? I was like, no, I'll figure it out. There's no logical reason why I should have been this lackadaisical about it. But I just knew at a core level, for whatever reason, I just knew, like, I'll figure it out, right? Even though, like, by that point, I definitely should have already had my Airbnb. So I had previously stayed in a rental in Florida a few months prior, earlier in the year. And randomly, like 2 weeks before I needed a place, hadn't even looked on Airbnb, nothing. Guy reaches out to me and says, hey, can you leave a 5-star review on Furnish Finder? I'm trying to rent the other unit out in the building that I was staying in. And I go online and the unit's literally available, exact same spot. I loved staying there before, but I knew that he had 2 tenants. I guess one of the tenants had actually ended her lease early, moved out to California, and there was like a vacancy. But just like that, it's like I could have never imagined that that's how I would get the rental. But how did that work? I literally just knew at a core level, there's no logic behind it. I knew at a core level that I was just going to figure it out. I just knew it was going to work out. And I didn't have a shred of doubt or worry about it. And what happened? Guy reaches out, asks for a review, boom, boom, boom. It's like, hey, you wouldn't, that wouldn't be available for me on November 3rd because I was still a few weeks out. And he was like, no, yeah, I can do it. I'll just rent it out in the short term. Then you can get it on November 3rd and you'll be good. And boom, right? So that is how it works. It comes to you in the most unexpected ways. So I want us to understand that consciousness is the root of creation. Each level of consciousness has its own set of thoughts, emotions, and actions. Right? I think this is important to understand. When you're operating at a fear-based, if you look up a graphic online of all the different like chakras and where the energy is, fear is like a lower vibration, anxiety, worry, anger, guilt, lust, those are all lower vibrations. When you're in those vibrations, they come with their own set of thoughts, fearful thoughts, right? Their own emotions and their own actions, right? So a peaceful state creates peaceful thoughts, creates calm actions, creates a harmonious environment. Fearful state creates rushed thoughts, creates reactive actions, creates chaotic environment. So your inner literally creates your outer. Your inner frequency is a generator of your external experience. So as your consciousness expands, as you're open to these ideas, right? New ideas, new choices, and outcomes naturally appear. So you need to raise your vibration, raise your consciousness. When you're operating in fear and anxiety, that's a lower vibration. Think about your consciousness as like tapping into a radio signal. It's tapping into a radio signal. So when you're operating in fear, you're tapping into like this fuzzy AM radio. It's not good. There's no songs on it. It's like a poor talk show and it's cutting in and out. When you get onto a higher state of frequency in those creative, joyful, abundant, inspired states of consciousness, states of awareness, it's like tapping into XM radio. You got no commercials, streaming perfectly, right? It's like plugging into your iPhone. You can choose any song you want. Super, super important to understand that. So each level of consciousness, each level of awareness brings certain thoughts, certain ideas, certain choices, which lead to outcomes, certain outcomes naturally. So if I believe myself to be a world-class speaker and I start embodying that, I'm going to think new thoughts, right? When someone offers me to speak on a stage, my old self operating in fear would say, no, I'm not ready for that. My new self, who's already a world-class speaker, goes, yeah, for sure, no problem, right? Oh, 2,000 people? Yeah, for sure, right? New thoughts, new ideas, new behaviors, new beliefs about the world. So you want to raise your consciousness, let go of that fear and anxiety, and you can become whoever you want to become. So kind of wrapping this up, I just want to reiterate that you are not waiting for your reality to change. You're training your state so that reality must respond, okay? You are creating your reality at all given times. Your inner creates your outer. So one journaling prompt or thing you can reflect on this week is, what is one internal state that you can choose today that would create a higher external experience? Just think about it. I want you to think about, what do you want, okay? We're talking about visualizing. What do you want? You want a job or a relationship or whatever. I want you to sit down in silence for 5-10 minutes and just visualize, what does it feel like to have that thing? That's what we need to be doing. What does it feel like to have that thing? And just focus on the feeling, not how it's going to happen, but what does it feel like when it's already done? And that's the feeling you need to hold throughout the day. Hold that throughout the day. Now, you're going to go throughout your day and things are going to knock you out of it. Something's going to happen. You're going to drop back into fear, but just be aware. Be aware of when you drop into fear, and then return to that feeling. Make that feeling your new baseline. And when you're 100% calibrated to that new feeling, that reality exists. That's the bottom line. So spending one full day in that energy of your desired self, right? Slow down, breathe, and observe how life mirrors that shift back to you. I want you to recognize it. Do you see certain synchronicities when you act in this new way, when you have these new beliefs? Have a little journal. What happened that just like you could have never expected, but kind of put you on the path towards who you wanted to become? In closing here, you don't attract what you want, okay? You attract what you are. We talked about that. Observer effect, quantum physics, neuroscience, biology. When you shift your consciousness or your awareness, your life has no choice but to reflect it back. And this is the essence of the build framework, right? It's how you break your old identity, upgrade your operating system, imagine your new self, let go of what no longer serves you and transcend into the 2.0 version of yourself. All right, if this episode expanded your mind, please share it with someone who's ready to remember their power. If you got any value, as always, I would really appreciate a review. It would go a long way, whether on Spotify or Apple, in getting this out to other people. That's it for now. This is Built for Impact. Thanks for listening.